They say that having a hobby as a teenager keeps you out of trouble. But what happens when a hobby turns your entire life upside down? I hear lots of stories about teenagers who don't love their parents, but my parents were the best. They have always encouraged me to try out new things. They motivate me to do better, and we can talk about anything. They are the main reason I tried out for my dance club, Dance with Attitude. My mom wasn't very close with her parents. Her mom died when she was 6, and she grew up with an abusive father. At age 16, she ran away and built herself from the ground up. She was never told that she was beautiful while growing up, so she created and sold beauty products for women. Even though my mother was a self-made millionaire, you would never believe it. We don't have the nicest cars or the most expensive clothes. My mother always told me to be humble because you never know where you might end up. My parents had one rule though. I wasn't allowed to post any pics of my mom online. Even though she had her own company, she paid someone to be the face of the company while she worked in the background. She said that she didn't want her father to find her, so she wasn't fond of social media. My mother, however, didn't mind me posting videos or pictures on social media since my grandfather didn't know who I was. My dad inherited a large inheritance from his grandfather, but he didn't want to give up his job. He loved what he did. You see, my dad was a travel agent and he enjoyed traveling. My mother was very supportive of his dreams and his job, just as he was of hers. Sometimes we even traveled with him. This time though, my dad traveled, and when he came back, he needed to be taken to the hospital straight from the airport. My mother and I arrived at the hospital. I sat outside his room while the doctor spoke with my mom. Dr. Smith said, "Mrs. Rose, we believe that your husband caught a bug from his last trip. We began running tests to see if anything would show up. His symptoms are unlike anything we have seen before." My mother came out of my dad's room and said, "Daddy will be fine. How about we do something fun this evening? It's been a while since the girls were over, so why not have a sleepover?" "Are you sure, Mom? I'm not sure if I'm up for company," I sighed softly. My mom placed her arm around my shoulder and squeezed me gently and said, "Your dad wouldn't want us moping around the house. We need to stay strong for him, okay?" I nodded. As soon as I got home, I called my friends and asked them if they wanted to come over to spend the night. I didn't mention anything about my dad being in the hospital since that might have put a damper on the atmosphere. My friends Sharon, Kimmy, and Daniela arrived at 6 p.m. We got snacks and sodas from the kitchen, and my mom ordered pizza and fried chicken. Even though we talked to each other every day, we never seemed to run out of things to talk about. "Shh, guys! Dancing with Teens is about to begin," Daniela said, waving her hands frantically trying to get us to hush. Dancing with Teens was our favorite show. We always dreamed of representing our dance club on it, but it was a tough show to get on. The TV show host spoke. "Good evening and welcome to Dancing with Teens. My name is Josiah Witherspoon. Tonight we got word that one of our teens will be unable to make it next week. It's tough luck for them, but a great..." "Good evening and welcome to Dancing with Teens. My name is Josiah Witherspoon. Tonight we got word that one of our teens will be unable to make it next week. It's tough luck for them, but a great opportunity for another teen." We decided to do a TikTok challenge. The team that creates the best TikTok video and emails it to us will win the spot to be on the show next week. We will post the winner this Friday at the beginning of our show. Good luck. My friends and I squealed with excitement. "Did you guys hear that?" I said excitedly. "The gods have finally smiled their faces upon us," Kimmy said dramatically as she spread her arms open and looked up to the sky. We giggled. "Okay, let's get down to business. Let's look for a great song and choreograph some moves down tonight," Sharon said. We all nodded. For the rest of the night, we practiced our choreography, and by midnight, we were set. We did the TikTok video and uploaded it to the email address given by Dancing with Teens. Now, all we had to do was wait. Finally, Friday arrived. My mom was still at the hospital with Dad, and I wasn't allowed to have friends over if she or Dad wasn't at home. We all logged into video chat and waited for Dancing with Teens to begin. "Good evening and welcome to Dancing with Teens. My name is Josiah Witherspoon. Tonight, as promised, we will show you the TikTok video that won the challenge." My friends and I sat glued to the TV, our excitement building. I held my breath as the video began to play. It was us! It was us! Shrieks from the other girls filled the room. "We did it!" I shouted and began to do a victory dance in front of the TV until I realized the mistake that I made. There was a picture of me and my parents on the background of the video, for all the world to see. I sank into the chair. I was mortified. Should I tell my mom? I have never kept anything from my mom before. I told my friends that I needed to go and cut off the call before they could say goodbye. I went to my room and waited for my mother to arrive. My eyes opened and I realized I must have dozed off. I checked my clock on the nightstand. It was 10:30 p.m. I walked to my parents' room and was about to open it when I heard my mom sobbing on the other side of the door. Now is not the time to tell Mom about the video. I will wait until she's in a better mood, I thought to myself, and walked back to my room. Hey Mom, I said as I poured cereal into my bowl the next morning. Kimmy, Sharon, Daniela, and I got to be guests on Dancing with Teens. My mother looked up at me from the newspaper that she was reading. Oh my God, are you serious? I'm so happy for you girls, my mom said as she came over and gave me a kiss on my head. Your father would be so proud of you. We have to go to the studio next Saturday. Would you be able to take me? I asked my mom. Sure I would. I wouldn't miss it for the world. That week, the girls and I met at each other's homes and worked on our routine for the show. This was our big chance to make our dance club proud. By Saturday, my stomach felt as though it was going through a grinder. I was so nervous. Have fun, baby, my mother said as she dropped me off. I'll be back before you perform on stage, okay? Send my love to Daddy. I can't wait to see him later. Met at each other's homes and worked on our routine for the show. This was our big chance to make our dance club proud. By Saturday, my stomach felt as though it was going through a grinder. I was so nervous. Have fun, baby, my mother said as she dropped me off. I'll be back before you perform on stage, okay? Send my love to Daddy. I can't wait to see him later to tell him all about it, I said. My mom gave me a final wave before driving off. I went into the studio and met the other girls to prepare for our routine. Each group was given a space to practice before doing their routine in front of the judges. After about 30 minutes, I told the girls that I needed to get some water. As I was walking back from the water cooler, I noticed a man walking directly towards me. Hi, are you Melissa Carr's daughter? The man stopped in front of me and asked. No, I'm not, I said and tried to get past the man. I'm sorry, my name is Isaac Burns. Your mom and I grew up next to each other. You look exactly like her. When I realized that you were going to be on the show today, I wanted to send something for Mel, he said, handing me a black photo album. I took the album and said nothing. The man nodded and walked away. I returned to my group. What's that? Sharon asked, looking at the album. Oh, nothing, I said as I placed the album into my book bag for safekeeping. Finally, it was time to perform for the judges. I looked up in the audience and found my mom's familiar face. She smiled and waved. That moment of being on the stage in front of the judges was surreal. We had 3 minutes to impress the judges with our routine, and impress them we did. We got called and moved on to the next round of the show. My mom and I chatted excitedly on the way to the hospital to see my dad. I need to get gas, my mom said as we approached the gas station. We pulled up to a pump and my mom hopped out of the car to pay. My phone rang and I went to my book bag to retrieve it so that I could shut it off. I saw the album and pulled it out. Through all the excitement, I forgot that it was given to me. As I flipped through the album, I noticed that it was a wedding album. My mouth dropped open as I recognized the bride smiling next to her groom. It was my mom, and the groom wasn't my dad. Mom never told me that she was married before, I muttered to myself in amusement. When my mom hopped back into the car, I showed her the album. Mom, what is this? Why didn't you tell me that you were married before? I asked, searching her lips for the answers. What? My mom said as she snatched the album from my hands. Where did you get this? She asked. I told her about the man at the studio. How did he know where to find me? My mother said. Her face looked as though all the blood was drained from it. I told her about the TikTok video. I told her that I didn't realize that a family portrait was in the video until it was already sent to the TV show. You ruined everything, my mom yelled at me. We need to get out of town immediately. My mom exited the gas station and went to the opposite direction of the hospital. Aren't we going to visit Dad? I asked, looking back at the way we came. We can't visit your dad now. We need to leave. Your dad will be okay, my mother said, her hands visibly shaking as her grip tightened on the steering wheel. Mom, who was that man? Does Dad even know that you were married before him? I asked. I needed answers to my question. Can't visit your dad now. We need to leave. Your dad will be okay, my mother said, her hands visibly shaking as her grip tightened on the steering wheel. Mom, who was that man? Does Dad even know that you were married before him? I asked. I needed answers to my questions. The man that handed me the album was way too young to be my grandfather. Now is not the time for all these questions, my mother screamed at me. My mother never screamed at me. I watched my mom inhale deeply and she spoke in a softer voice. We are in danger. If we don't leave now, we may never be able to leave. But I don't want to leave Dad, I cried. I know, baby, but if you stay, they may harm you to get to me, and I wouldn't be able to live with myself if anything happened to you, my mother said. The tires of my mom's car screeched as she pulled up in front of the house. Pack only what you need, my mom said as we got out of the car. You have 2 minutes to meet me by the car. As I packed my bag, I thought, why didn't I check the video? All of this was my fault. Tiffany, let's go. my mother yelled as she stood at the front door. I ran out of my bedroom and to the front door, and I silently said goodbye to my home as something inside me knew that I would never see that house again. While sitting at the airport, we were suddenly surrounded by police officers. "Melissa Blackman, you are under arrest for the attempted murder